Good morning and thank you for joining me. Today is Wednesday the 19th of June 1940 and we're just going to go through what is a typical sort of day. So first, of course, I have to fuss and feed Her Royal Highness before I get ready myself. I always enjoy opening up the windows and curtains and taking in the fresh air. And then it's tea. The paper arrived and I like to flick through the morning news.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister.
The disastrous military events which have happened in France during the last fortnight have not come to me with any sense of surprise. Indeed, I told the House of Commons, as you may remember, almost exactly a fortnight ago, that the worst possibilities were open. And I made it perfectly clear that whatever happened in France would make no difference to the resolve of Britain and the British Empire to fight on. We have also over here the Dominion armies. The Canadians have actually landed in France, but have now been safely withdrawn. They were much disappointed. This brings me to the great question of invasion from the air and of the impending struggle between the British and German air forces. It seems quite clear that no invasion on a scale beyond the capacity of our land forces to crush speedily, no invasion on a scale beyond that is likely to take place until our air force has been definitely overpowered. In the meantime, there may be raids by parachute troops and attempted descents by airborne soldiers. We ought to be able to give these gentry a warm reception, both in the air and also, if they reach the ground in any condition, to continue the discussion. I do not at all underrate the severity of the ordeal which lies before us, but I believe our countrymen will show themselves capable of standing up to it and of carrying on in spite of it, at least as well as any other people in the world. What General Weygand has called the Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life and the long continuity of our institutions and our empire. The whole fury and might of the enemy must very soon be turned on us. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be freed, and the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit upland. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duty. So bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
And with that, I finish up breakfast and I start the day's work. The first job of the day, tickling the weeds around the broad beans, keeping them under control. As I was doing that, I spotted that black fly had begun on one or two of the broad bean tops, so I had to top the broad beans. The sweetest part of a broad bean is the top. That's where most of the sugars are, so that's where the black fly land, and then they, before you know it, they're through the entire crop. So I used a bucket for the covered ones and a wicker basket for the ones that hadn't been affected, because you can actually eat the tops. They're really quite nice, and they make a nice different green for this time of year. And a few broad beans to go with that. Then of course strawberries, the first strawberries of the year are beginning to ripen. Looking elsewhere around the garden, I saw that there was enough to make a little meal, so I thought I'd have a meal completely off the garden. Next job on the list was to ridge the new potatoes. There's this thing called grabbling which you can do, which is if you tickle around the outskirts of the potato plant, you are able to collect some new potatoes off of that without actually disturbing the plant. So you can get a crop that way without actually affecting the number of plants in the garden. Shaky had her broad bean tops, of course, before I finally settled down to have my lunch, which was minted potatoes and all the other things that I could find in the garden, followed by strawberries and cream, and it was absolutely delicious. Really nice to have some new flavours. And so, calling it a break there, I am still on the hunt for a cottage, so I have a quick change of outfit, put on something nice before I head off to view. I really like the old style. I really like the stonework of the cottage. I like the beams up ahead. I like the fact that you can make your mark on it, but I think it was just too much of a builder's job, I think, really, for me. The upstairs had cement flooring. I've never seen that. I've never heard of that, a cement floor upstairs. So, yeah, alas, that one's not to be. I will continue to look. So, back home and cracking on with the job of the day. Again, that is more ridging up of the potatoes. When you ridge them up, it seems to encourage them to grow a bigger crop. So every plant is vital. We need as much potatoes as we can. As I was doing that, I heard huge noise, and it was like a spit going overhead. And then sure enough, there was a dogfight not too far away, which was, I think there was one German versus 3 of ours, and it's quite sporting, really. I think 3 on 1, but at the same time there's no chivalry in sport. So yeah, our boys, I'm sure, have done us proud and caught him. And yeah, the summer heat, it starts to get to you. So I retreated inside, and this is where I caned up some of the indoor growing tomato plants and cucumbers. The best thing to do when you're caning these up is to tie the knot around the cane first, and then do a very loose tie on the actual plants, instead of just tying them directly to the cane itself. It just gives wiggle room for the stalks to grow and the plants not being strangled, and also to remove any side shoots off the tomatoes, because we don't want that to happen. We want a nice single cane, and of course a good water. I think everything needs a good drink in this heat. So then moving on to the last job of the day, I think. Reading in the newspaper today, the Ministry of Agriculture recommended that we plant some more bean seeds. So here I am having a look through my collection and planting a few dwarves and climbing beans. Like it says, if I keep it well watered, they should hopefully catch up with what's already in the garden and establishing. I already have borlottis and runner beans in the garden, but yeah, these will make a nice addition. And then while I was there, I couldn't forego the opportunity of transplanting some seedlings. So these are greens, which I'm hoping will crop for autumn. So autumn greens for everyone. We've got chard, we've got kale. The lettuce, it keeps failing to germinate. I don't know what I'm doing wrong there, but I will keep trying. And of course transplanting some brassicas. I think these are sprouts. They might be cabbage, but I think they're sprouts. Just removing any of the dead leaves is the best way, and fill the pots right to the top as best as you can. Give them plenty of goodness to feed them. So important to get things on the go. And yeah, so we've hit that time in the day now where I'm just going to enjoy a nice cocoa, and I made a batch of chocky biscuits as well from the Good Housekeeping Cookery book, so that was very much appreciated. Yes, cocoa is good for fortifying you, and yeah, so and while I was finishing for the day, I spotted that the poppy has started to come out. And then I made a lentil pie from the Good Housekeeping cookbook as well. I wouldn't recommend it, but if all you have is potatoes and lentils and maybe a few other bits of flavouring, it's better than nothing, you know. I'll put their recipe in the link below for those who are interested. And then I settled down with cookery book, knitting book, and just sort of ponder through what I might be able to make in the future, anything that catches my eye, and then that's it. Just sit, enjoy the lovely evening sky. It's Bomber's Moon actually, it's a full moon with a clear sky, so I'm really hoping Jerry doesn't come over tonight, but if he does, our boys will do us proud. But yeah, just hoping that I can go to bed and enjoy it air raid free and sleep through. But anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.